Cornel West. Thank you so much, Professor
I haven't
West, for
seen this
being
yet,
here.
too,
Really
so.
appreciate it.
Love it when one of us come in here cold because it's always a good. It's a good
I knew he was
reaction.
going to cover. I knew he was going to cover it, so I'm gonna wait till we just do our live coverage. But let's continue.
What a blessing, and I salute you and this wonderful new job, so very well deserved. It's beautiful to see you flowering and flourishing. I should say, from Harvard Yard to now, meet the press. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Professor West. I appreciate that so much.
One thing I noticed, Dr. Cornel West has a great strategy where he comes on and he stroked the ego of the professional managerial class managers before he destroys their talking points. And it always leaves them in CJ, they love stability politics, so it always leaves them in an awkward position.
It does. That's on purpose. And it's funny, Nick, because I wanted to bring up the same point. I was going to bring it up later, but the same point, because the reason he does it is it's genius. Because you have to understand the professional managerial class, what she does. Yeah. What do they value most? I got my degrees and I've done this. And what does he do? Look where you've come from here. He's pointed out the whole point of the professional managerial class, which is to climb the ranks. So he's patting her on the back for that. So now, even if it's supposed to be where you're supposed to be this bait and switch interview, which they all do to him, they really can't go that hard at him because it's like, man, he gave me props for this. No, none of you bastards gave me props.
I think there's another way of looking at it. Dr. Cornel West has always said in interviews that, hey, he's also a little bit of a gangster, and what he did was a smooth criminal drive-by. It was a compliment hit. And then a disarm no jutsu. I took that from somebody in the live stream chat. So I had disarm no jutsu. Hey, I didn't come up with it. It was somebody in the live stream chat, and the name just went past like light speeds. By the way, don't forget to hit the like button, folks. But there we go. There we go. The Jamon 93 disarm no jutsu. That's what he did.
Let's continue while we still got time.
We'll get through this. Let's play it a little while.
Thank you for being here. We do want to talk to you about your candidacy, which has gotten a lot of attention. And I want to start off by asking you about it in this context. Your longtime political ally, Senator Bernie Sanders, he's not a Democrat, but he did, as you know, run twice in the Democratic presidential primary. So let me just put the question to you. Why have you decided to run as a third-party candidate rather than a Democrat challenging President Biden?
Yes, I mean, Bernie Sanders, as you know, is my very dear brother. I have a deep love for him. We have disagreement at this historical moment. I'm thoroughly convinced that neither party is speaking to the pressing needs of poor and working people. And so the two-party system itself is becoming an impediment for the flowering of American democracy. We've got too many fellow citizens, 63% living paycheck to paycheck. And many of us know exactly what that means, no matter how big or small our check actually is. And so in that sense, I must say that it's hard to view oneself as a spoiler when there's increasing rot in the system with two parties connected to big money, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and militarism abroad. And we need, and really the anthem of Black people, lift every voice. We need many, many more voices, and the two parties that we have are too narrow at this point.
Well, I'm curious.
Let's just take it at each answer. So what do you think of that answer? One thing I got to say, it feels like he's getting better, a little more better at, in small amounts of time, getting in those critiques of both parties that you're not normally hearing by any other candidate. So I like that about some of these.
Yeah, you would expect that. Absolutely. You would expect that. And one thing I was saying, I'll pass to you, kid. Just one quick point.
Go ahead.
When she says, "Why aren't you challenging Biden running as a Democrat?" And my response to that is, no one challenging Biden more than Dr. Cornel West because he's running outside the Democratic Party.
Precisely.
Because guess who's going to give up after Super Tuesday? No matter you have, I think the latest poll, RFK is free falling with support among Democrats. He's killing it with Republicans, but that's going to do you great in the Democratic primary, you genius. So After Super Tuesday, they're gonna throw in the towel, and they're gonna do their own thing. I think they're gonna endorse him, but they are irrelevant when it comes to challenging Biden power after that point. Meanwhile, Dr. Cornel West, the same as Joe Stein before him, was in it to the end. In November, October, September, they are on the campaign trail after Biden. Meanwhile, Marianne Wilson gonna be like, "Yeah, I know I had criticism of Biden, but we got to defeat Trump." You guys see the difference? You guys see the difference between who actually challenged Biden and not? But Kid, I want to hear from you. Go ahead, Kid.
Well, what I like is how he again brings up being a spoiler. Look, how can he spoil something that's already been spoiled? And this whole thing about stealing votes from Biden, again, stealing, it is the act of theft of stealing something that belongs to somebody else. That means what corporate media is trying to tell voters is that our votes automatically belong to Democrats. But that's not how voting works. Voting is said candidate should earn my vote. So that means if I or anyone else in the audience want to vote for Dr. Cornel West, or let's say Libertarian or Republican, that means those candidates earned our vote and our respect and us taking time out of our day to vote for them. My vote does not automatically belong to Biden. So how can Dr. Cornel West steal something that didn't belong to Biden in the first place? Earning my vote 101, but all would vote blue no matter who's going to say is, oh, you're just helping Trump. Well, then fine, I'll be your villain. I'll be your bad guy, but that still won't change my mind. It's actually going to reinforce my belief, and I'm going to share that with my audience every morning. Vote how you feel like. Even if you don't want to vote, fine. But you got to earn my vote, and Biden isn't earning my vote.
He's earning no one's vote. And I'll do the same thing. Let her ask the question and let him answer, and then we will react on the other side.
Because you say this is a moment where you're not necessarily seeing eye to eye with your good friend, Senator Bernie Sanders. Have you spoken to him about your candidacy? As you know, he's already endorsed President Biden.
Who gives a shit?
No, we've had no dialogue. I can feel his love at a distance. I hope he can feel my love at a distance. But no, we've had no dialogues about it. Not at all. And as you know, I was very close to him for two campaigns, and I just don't think Democratic Party treated him fairly. They didn't treat him justly. Democratic Party was too anti-democratic, and I think both establishments in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party, they are undergoing a slow erosion. I think one of the reasons why you get a Trump is because the Democratic Party establishment has eroded. I think you're going to see it in many ways in the debate tomorrow night. You know, we just don't have the high quality. So you end up with a lot of Pied Piper language at Trump, but he's in so many ways beneath mediocrity, God bless him. And then with Biden, you've got milquetoast mediocrity. Where are the great visionary statespersons that come in and intervene as this country is undergoing polarization and gangsterization? In the name of integrity, honesty, decency, and generosity, we have got to have new voices on the scene. That's why I'm running for president.
And let me pause it here. So again, it does either that initial comment he made really threw her off her rocker, or she's just not the person to question him adversarially, because she's just kind of asking the questions that's written on the paper and then going with the answers, not really challenging him like an Anderson Cooper. If you remember that interview with Anderson Cooper, he was just kind of challenging the word, the things that he was saying. So, and he's just has a more effective argument to argue against. I believe he's arguing. Any other comments before we get to the last? I think he got two more questions, and we should be able to get through this actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's push forward so people can see this, because I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow morning too.
Absolutely.
Past position in 2004, you signed a letter of former Ralph Nader advisors urging progressives in swing states to vote for John Kerry. I'm going to read you a little bit of this letter that you signed. Quote, "This year, we urge support for Kerry Edwards in all swing states, even while we strongly disagree with Kerry's policies on Iraq and other issues. For people seeking progressive social change in the United States, removing George W. Bush from office should be the top priority in the 2004 presidential election. Progressive voters for John Kerry in swing states may prove decisive in attaining this vital goal." If you believed that in 2004, Dr. West, how do you rationalize your third-party candidacy this time around?
Well, it's a wonderful question because, as you know, I supported Brother Biden, given my profound disagreement with Biden as architect of mass incarceration, as supporter of invasion and occupation of Iraq. Why? Because I was thoroughly convinced that what the Republicans were presenting was so dangerous. But the sad thing is now is that as dangerous as a second Trump term would be, if we don't break out of the corporate duopoly, we're going to be doing this for the next 10, 20, and 30 years. And I don't think the American project can withstand it. This shift from Democrats to Republicans, the Democrats feeding the Republicans feeding the Democrats, and yet poor people, working people, finding themselves pushed to the margins. It could be Cop City, both parties support. It could be expansion of military budget, both parties support. It could be policies advantageous to Wall Street, both parties support. And as you know, this is the 60th anniversary of Brother Martin Luther King's great speech. And I've always viewed myself as my own humble calling, trying to keep alive the great legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, and Diane Nash. And that tradition has to continue on and on. I think of Les McCann's great classic, compared to what, 1969? Compared to what at this point with these parties? Let's try something new.
We'll stop there. Let's get comments on this final question, and we'll stop there. But I mean, this is a good question because to me, this was one of the more sort of effective lines he had as a comeback. The critique of both parties is what people need to hear. This sort of critique that they're not hearing from anyone, because either you're on blue side or you're the red side. So you're taking up for one of the capitalist, corporate, corrupt teams. And he's saying, no. Both of these teams are corrupt. So that person instantly has more credibility on both sides. Like if I'm just saying blue stuff, red team automatically is not believing me. If I'm vice versa with the red team, but if I'm saying both, I have credibility at least from the opposite position from both sides. So your comments before we switch over to the Trump interview, guys?
So real quick, when we look at Dr. Cornel West and his message, look, he is being as honest and sincere as possible. And look, 2004 is way different than 2023. And obviously there might have been a different mindset about what the Democratic Party could have been or what people thought it could turn into. So the thing is, trying to bring up where he was or where the Green Party was or how Nader felt at the time is irrelevant in this day and age. What matters is now. The past is the past. It is done and over. The ink is dry. There's no, oh, gee, what if this would be different? Or how come you thought like this? We all change. Nick, CJ, I'm pretty sure back in the day you guys had different opinions. And guess what? Like normal people, you changed your opinions and you grew as adults and you saw things through different perspectives, as have I, as have the audience. So this whole idea of bringing up, oh, Dr. Cornel West, you did this in 2004, or you did this in 2020 by having people vote for Biden. Okay, it's irrelevant now. What matters is now and why he's running. And he poses a real significant threat to Biden. Sabby did a great breakdown about how black voters are walking away from the Democratic Party. There's a reason why black voters, or dare I say it, voters in general, are walking away from the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party doesn't deliver. So if the Democratic Party doesn't deliver, it is not my fault that the party failed its voters. It's their fault. And so if Dr. Cornel West is running, I encourage it. And if Vote Blue, no matter who, wants to keep on doing voter shaming, fine. Vote shame all you want. But don't be surprised if people smack you right in the mouth if you keep on talking to smack.
So this is some quality shit right here, fam.
Yes, beautiful. That's a work of art.
There's some beautiful shit right here. When people say that that we vote for Dr. Cornel West, it will make Biden lose, I'm like, dude, that's a selling point for me, fam.
I made it clear. I made it clear on election night in 2024. I'm buying myself a nice Costco ribeye steak, one of those big ones that you huck at somebody, and I'm going to cook it and I'm going to eat it while I'm watching the general election, how it all turns out. And I am going to be feasting off the tears of Vote Blue, no matter who, liberals. No matter how this election turns out, I'm going to be feasting off of their panic and fear. So go ahead. Like, again, Peter Parker saying it best. Like, I'm happy this is happening.